you find yourself on a spiritual awakening or in the midst of a dark night of the soul, and everything in your life seems to be crashing down, everywhere you look seems to be closed doors, you don't know where to begin, I'm going to share with you the two things that really helped me along my journey. Now, if you're new to my channel, in 2013, I lost my mom to cancer right before my son was born. And this caused me to have an instant spiritual awakening. I would even throw in there dark night of the soul. I honestly don't know what the difference is, because when I had my spiritual awakening, it seemed like everything in my life came crashing down. I evaluated my life and who I became. I realized that I'd spent the last 13 years of my life using alcohol to drown out all my childhood trauma. I became aware of aspects of myself that needed to be healed, such as having a jet wick temper, and I basically thought that healing was impossible. I evaluated my job. It seemed like I was working in a career that was killing my soul. I evaluated my friends, realized that none of them really had my back, and this healing journey was going to be a solo mission. I evaluated all these things in my life, and I came to the conclusion that basically, healing was impossible, and this life was basically a write-off. And there were times in my healing journey when I was experiencing such massive amounts of depression that I actually felt like I had cement shoes on, and there was times where it would take me an hour just to muster up the strength to get out of my chair and continue living. And the very first thing that I did on my healing journey was praying to Jesus. This is something I've done my whole entire life, but when I felt as if I had no energy to continue, when I felt that healing was impossible, when I thought that I could never get myself out of the situation that I found myself in, the very first thing that I did was start praying to Jesus, asking for help, asking for healing, asking for the motivation to continue living. So if you find yourself in an impossible situation, at least that's what you're telling yourself. A lot of times we'll believe all these lies that we create when once we go through this spiritual awakening, or we find ourselves in a dark night of the soul. We'll tell ourselves a bunch of lies that we tend to believe, such as healing is impossible. That's what I told myself, and I'm in a much happier place today. And in 2014, I tried to leave this place, and if it wasn't for Archangel Michael, I wouldn't be here. But the one thing that I recommend if you find yourself going through a situation like this is getting yourself a friend named Jesus. Start praying, start asking for help, start asking for guidance. You can also do this with your higher self, but this is what I did at the time. I got close with Jesus, and I must say, my relationship with him hasn't always been perfect. It hasn't always been roses and butterflies. And if that sounds like you, don't beat yourself up about it. You have to evaluate the people in your life right now and ask yourself, the people that you're closest to, the people that you love the most, has your relationship always been perfect? The truth is, when you have a really intimate relationship with someone, there's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys, there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. And that's how my relationship with Jesus has been. But, I'm in a really good place right now. My relationship with Jesus is, at one of its highest moments. And so don't beat yourself up. There was a time where I felt abandoned by Jesus. I felt betrayed by Jesus, and I even cursed his name. But, Jesus has so much love for you. If you understood just how much love he had for you, you'd drop to your knees and start crying. I've had 2 major visitations from the soul of Jesus, and they've been absolutely life-changing and transformational, to say the least. So just understand that Jesus understands your struggles, and if you're going through what seems like an impossible time, get yourself a friend that starts with the letter J. Now, the next thing I did, in addition to praying to Jesus, asking for help, is I really still felt hopeless, and I really still felt like healing was impossible. It took some time to build up momentum, right? But during those days when I felt like I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't get out of my chair, and sometimes even standing up, just taking a step forward felt like a monumental chore, I turned to motivational speakers on YouTube at the time. There was something about just listening to a guy for some reason with me, it usually was some black guy screaming at the screen, get up and live your best life. No one's coming to help you. It's on you, blah, 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 right? You can feed off of that energy. And I'm not even kidding you. Sometimes I woke up and the first thing that I did was turn on YouTube and look for motivational speakers just to get the energy to get out of bed. So the two things that I did in my healing journey that really helped me straight from the beginning was getting a friend named Jesus and using motivational speakers to find the energy within and continue. I hope this helps. Think about sharing this video because you never know who's questioning this life and where exactly they are in their healing journey. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.